This is Kathy Colas Audiobooks and High Horse Press. Welcome to the Dead Author Interviews, the only show where our guests are really hard to schedule, even harder to cancel, and have been dead long enough to stop worrying about bad reviews. Today's guest is Frances Hodgson-Burnett, author of books like The Secret Garden, somewhat autobiographical, A Little Princess, and Little Lord Fauntleroy. She was responsible for bringing copyright law to England. She was a master gardener, a New Thought spiritualist, and she's here today to talk to us about her life. Frances, thank you so much for making the journey to join us today. We are so excited to have you here. We had Charlotte Perkins-GIlman here last month.
Yes, Charlotte and I are quite close, and she was so delighted with the way her interview went that she encouraged me to come on the show. Wonderful to be here.
So, Frances, can we get a little bit of background on you? Where were you born?
I was born in Manchester, England in 1849.
I don't hear any trace of British accent.
My family moved to Tennessee when I was a teenager.
Oh, I don't hear any Southern either, but that's okay. That's okay. Maybe it's a mixture. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I read somewhere that your family was quite well off in England, but when your dad died, things kind of went from bad to worse. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Of course, certainly. Once father passed, mother tried to take on the family business. Our business was textiles. But we lost money through declining trade in the American Civil War, which cut off the cotton supply. Our family had to move into increasingly poor neighborhoods before eventually immigrating to Tennessee, where we lived in a log cabin and nearly starved during the final months of the Civil War.
That sounds awful. Really?
Yeah.
When did things start to pick up for you?
Well, I decided that I wanted to be a writer. In order to get money to buy paper and postage to send stories to magazines, my sister and I picked grapes and asked two of our friends to sell them at a market. Once I had the money, I sent one of my stories to New York Magazine. They liked it well enough, but told me it was too English, and they weren't sure it was written by an American. Why that mattered, I have no idea. They asked me to confirm whether the story was original, so I sent them another story. Then they purchased both. After that, everything I ever wrote was accepted for publication.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I broaden your horizons even if it was English. I mean, why does it need to sound a certain way? But I guess
know.
they wanted it to be that way, and I had to prove myself, I guess.
And you did it. And you did it.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time when that happened?
I was 18, and then I went on to become the highest paid female writer of that time.
Let's talk about the copyright law. Tell me how that came about. How were you instrumental in bringing copyright law to England?
Yeah, while I was visiting Paris, I discovered that a play based on Fauntleroy was about to be produced in London. At the time, there was no international copyright law, and even though I had published the story in both England and America, I didn't hold the dramatic rights. I left immediately for London and wrote my own version of the play en route. We then opened the real Little Lord Fauntleroy at Terry's Theatre. I then brought a lawsuit against the usurper. I not only won the case, but it established the precedent for copyright law in England. I was honored at a grand dinner hosted by England's greatest writers, many of whom had encountered similar troubles. They even presented me with diamond jewelry to show their appreciation for the increased protection I provided to writers across the country, which I didn't really need, but I was honored.
That's crazy. Did you wear it? I mean, after that, did you go to like parties in Tennessee and wear the diamonds?
I dabbled if it required it. I mean, I didn't really want to flaunt anything, or I'm just kind of wanted to live my life, and so if it required something, okay, I brought it out, but otherwise it stayed safe.
You were the highest paid female writer at the time, so
this is true, yes.
a little flaunting might be okay. Okay, so do you mind? Can we talk about your family life a little bit? You were married and had two sons. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I married an American, Swan Burnett, who was an aspiring doctor. We had two sons, Lionel and Vivian. I was hoping Vivian would be a girl, so that's why I had chosen that name, but we changed it to the male spelling instead. While Swan was in medical school, it was my writing that supported the family. And even after he opened his practice, my income far exceeded his. Touring new releases of my books kept me quite busy, and while I adored my sons, I often spent months apart from them while I traveled.
Yeah, that's got to be hard on a marriage.
Hmm.
Actually, I heard you and Swan wound up getting divorced. You mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, the traveling took its toll on the marriage, and he eventually divorced on grounds of estrangement.
Well, that must have
Yeah.
been tough.
We didn't have the best of marriages. I think that time period, it was very hard on him, wife being away, not taking on the role of motherhood as seriously, but an income is an income, and I was the one who was making the most.
I totally get that, but I bet men during that time, I think were quite proud. And I wonder how
Yes.
much you're making, you bringing home the bacon really did affect him, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It very much did.
Yeah. Well, I heard as well that your second marriage didn't work out that well. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, my second marriage to Stephen Townsend also quickly collapsed. He forced me into the marriage and wanted my money and fame for his acting career. His behavior caused severe stress and physical collapse, leading me to enter a sanatorium, and I separated from him by 1902.
Oh my gosh, that must have been awful. How can you be forced to marry someone? I mean, even in that day, how does someone, I mean, he didn't like hold you, it wasn't a shotgun wedding or anything because that's
No.
a whole other circumstance. Um,
No.
so our listeners, I'm sure, would definitely love to hear more about that if you don't mind
Yes.
expounding on that.
Yeah, so he manipulated and blackmailed me into marriage by embedding himself into my professional and personal life. He was 10 years my junior, and so I often referred to him as my secretary and took control of contracts, moved into my English estate under scandalous circumstances, and used psychological pressure until I just felt trapped. He was scarcely sane a lot of the time.
So getting into the sanatorium was probably like a vacation, probably a
Yes,
relief just to get away
yes,
from him.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
that's insane. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to hear that happen to you. Did not have good luck with men. I hope that
no,
that was it for you, right? No more marriages or
correct,
liaisons or anything. Okay.
correct.
All
Yes.
right. Now, I also know that both of your sons were ill at different points, but
Hmm.
tell me what happened. I think Lionel was very ill. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes, it was while I was in Paris, I heard from Swan that our son Lionel was gravely ill. I rushed home, taking him to all the important doctors and spas I could find. But he died of tuberculosis in Paris in 1890 at the age of 16. I have never forgiven myself for that. I actually had a relapse in my depression, which I struggled with for most of my life. And I spent the rest of my life as a memorial to Lionel. And then Vivian also was ill right before he went to college at Harvard, and he luckily got over it and was able to go on to his education, which I struggled with paying for. Finances were starting to get tough at that point, but we made it through.
So just back to Lionel, and thank God for Vivian that he
Yes.
was able to
Yes,
persevere.
definitely.
Um, but you said something about dedicating your life as a memorial to him. In what way did you create a memorial to him?
Well, writing The Secret Garden was one way. It truly helped me answer so many of the questions that plagued me after Lionel's death.
Like, what kinds of questions?
What does it mean to be sick? What does it mean to be well? How can we recover from grief? How can we forgive ourselves for our failures?
So, do you feel like those questions were answered for you? How did that play out for you in The Secret Garden?
Yeah, I think I got the answers as well as you can to those types of questions. I used Mr. Craven, Colin's father, to channel my own grief. Ultimately, he does forgive himself, and so it helped me find some sense of peace.
Did you ever forgive yourself?
In a way, yes. Um, being away from your child, especially when they then become sick, there's always guilt, but I think I have forgiven myself enough in a way that I could memorialize him, remember the good times that we had. I got to spend that time with him while he was ill. So in a way, yes, as much as one can.
Right. So you were able to move on with your life.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That's very hard. The loss of a child has to be one of the worst things that can happen to a person.
Yes. Yes,
So I
very
am
much so.
sorry about that.
Thank you.
Well, let's go on to some of your belief systems. I know that you were involved in something called New Thought. It's a spiritual movement from the early 20th century that's kind of related to Christian Science today. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. New Thought took a more holistic and spiritual approach to physical health. It embraced the idea that God is everywhere, that the human spirit is divine, that sickness originates in the mind, and that right thinking leads to healing. And so those concepts, I believe, are how it's related to the Christian Science today.
Okay.
Um, Although I understood that many of New Thought's beliefs do not account for the very real challenges posed by both physical and mental illnesses, my son being sick, me going through depression, I used this to create the central philosophy of the Secret Garden, that outdoor activity, time in nature, and community and companionship are just as central to health as traditional medicine.
Yeah, that runs through the entire thing. Mary, who started out as an absolutely obnoxious, anxious young girl,
Yes.
really through outdoor activity and nature, like you're talking about, really became a loving, thoughtful person.
Yeah.
And the same with Colin. I mean, he was healed by the secret garden. So it's definitely obvious, like you're saying, it is very similar to Christian Science, where from what I understand, Christian scientists don't believe in mainstream medicine. They don't believe in vaccinations. They don't believe in doctors. They believe in self-healing.
Mhm.
Correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everything is of the mind and body and the higher spirit of God and the divine, and you can heal yourself with prayer.
So did you hold on to that belief until you died?
I did. Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. How did you die, by the way? And when did you die?
I died of natural causes on October 29th, 1924, at the age of 74 at my home in Long Island, New York.
You know, I'm from Long Island originally.
Really? It's a
Yes.
beautiful place, isn't it?
It is. It is. I loved it. I grew up there. We have a connection. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, I guess, the New Thought movement worked for you because a lot of people
Mhm.
died early during that
Yes.
time period from a lot of different diseases, but
Yes.
you were able to live a pretty full life. So
Yes,
must be
I was
something to
lucky.
it. Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. That's great. Well, this should come as no surprise to our listeners, but I hear you are an avid gardener.
Yes, I planted acres of flowers at my home in the US and in the winter home I shared with my sister. I also published over 1,000 articles in magazines such as Country Life and The Garden. It was in an essay titled In the Garden, published in 1925, I felt I showed my appreciation of gardens and provided insight into my own substantial experience with gardening, an experience that dates back to my childhood in Tennessee. I have a theory that everyone in the world really wants a garden, though many perhaps are not conscious of their need.
Well, I'm a black thumb. And as much as I would love a garden, I have a deep-seated belief in not causing harm to living things. So do you have any tips for would-be gardeners?
I do, yes. My saying is garden where you are, garden with what you have. Simply garden. I don't follow any rules, and you really can't go wrong. It doesn't matter if you mix high-end perennials with some old-fashioned annuals. A garden should be a private room of one's own, a restorative, walled space for reflection, writing in my case, and healing. I find getting down into the dirt and using your hands really meditative, so I dig, weed, prune, and plant all on my own. I also think having a plan for what you want really helps the process as well.
What are your favorite plants?
Roses, definitely. I do also like the marigolds, petunias, lilacs, and azaleas, to name a few. I love vibrant, cheerful blooms. As long as you have a garden, you have a future. And as long as you have a future, you are alive. Another one of my sayings.
I love that. Well, Frances, I got to tell you, it's been fabulous having you here today. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's been great.
Did you take the same transport from the afterlife that Charlotte took?
Yes, actually. Angel Express Transport. Brand new. This whole idea of having dead authors come back for interviews to tell their stories has really intrigued upper management. We may even have a dedicated line just for this purpose.
That's wonderful because I plan on having a lot of you guys in the next few months on the podcast. Well, Charlotte told me there was a sign-up sheet going around of authors wanting to get on the podcast. Has anyone in particular asked you about it?
Yes, Mr. Hemingway has become quite annoying. He tried to cut in line ahead of me, but I told him, none of that, Ernie, just wait your turn. Never gets off that bar stool, but when he does, he is always so pushy.
Well, that does sound like Hemingway, doesn't it?
Yes, very much so. It's on brand.
I'm gonna have to have him on.
Yes, definitely. It will be quite intriguing.
I think so. Maybe we'll do a happy hour. That could be fun. Well, Frances, again, it was amazing to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
And there you have it. That was Frances Hodgson-Burnett, channeled through Melissa Tradewell. Thank you to Frances and Melissa. Frances is the author of The Secret Garden and A Little Princess, both of which are running on the podcast this season. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I plan on making this a regular piece on the podcast. So if you have any suggestions of authors you want to hear, let me know. Send me a note at highhorsepress@gmail.com, or you can look me up on Facebook. Just search High Horse Press. Same thing on Instagram. And as always, thank you for listening.